I am about to give a presentation about programming a terminal for the browser tomorrow. And I thought, what better way to prepare for this presentation than to make a video about it. For this presentation I only get 20 minutes time, and it will be on a JavaScript meetup. If you're interested in JavaScript, find the next JavaScript meetup next to your place. They are fun. I'm going to give this presentation there, and I rehearsed it once and it takes me about 18 minutes. But I'm gonna take my time in this video, like explain things in a more calm way. Take my time. Why am I doing this? Well, because it's fun, because it's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, we are going from this to this, a fully working terminal. And what we want to do is we want to bring this into this, make it completely interactive, and maybe even introduce some additional features. Come along. I encourage you to do this on your own PC. It's fun, it's mind-blowing, and once you have programmed your own terminal, you can be really proud of yourself. You have something that you can like use and show off with it. Basically what we are doing here is we are using a technology that was invented for sharing scientific literature, and we are completely abusing it. And we are using it to have an interactive terminal, basically the way the first computers were used. Okay, how do we do this? We do this with Node.js as a server. You need to know JavaScript. You need to have a running Node.js server and basic knowledge how to start it. You need internet access to download some libraries, and that's basically it. You need a browser and a computer, of course. So I have a node mirror running here, which already has this neat interactive terminal, and this is pretty much what we are going to program. Create a folder terminal, and this is going to be our project. We start completely from scratch. There is nothing in there yet. And something else I'm going to utilize is Promised Land. It's a JavaScript extension written by me, and I'm trying to promote it. Check it out. It's in pretty much early state, but it's already usable, and I'm going to show you what you can do with it. Of course, you can do this completely without Promised Land, but maybe you will find it much easier. Okay, so let's begin. Create a file. I'm just saving this file here to show you. Node mirror is translating Promised Land to JavaScript already. If you want to use Node mirror, just go to npmjs.com and install it. If you don't want to use Node mirror, use your own IDE, you are very welcome to do this. You can use the Promised Land compiler. Just follow the very small instructions here and you're ready to go. So what we are doing here is we are creating an index file, and you will see why, but we are just going to require another file here, and we call it terminal. That's basically it. Open folder, new folder. We create another folder of terminal and terminal.plant. And step by step, I'm gonna show you how this project, how this terminal is taking form. So we're running Node with the index and we get our first error. Of course, we have nothing installed yet. If you want to run Promised Land files at this stage, you need Promised Land installed. npm install Promised Land. And we get our output, yay, together with some debug output. This is far from a terminal, but we have created our basic program. Now there is a library out there, it's called pty.js, it's genius. It's an adapter for Node.js, which lets you start a terminal on the server, which is basically our server part. We're creating a terminal and starting it, and we can interact with it. You see, this has this very slim, very neat API, and we are just going to copy paste it into our program. I'm not going to do that anymore. What does it do here in the demo? It requires the pty. It creates a terminal. Gets the working directory and the environment variables. Then whenever there is data from the terminal, it's just being logged on the console. And because this is going to be ugly, I'm going to add something. Console data. And then we just write an ls, then there's this resize command, and we write ls again, which is basically just showing off what this library can do. And to use it, of course, we need to install it, and then install pty.js. It's as simple as that. We run our program again. Now you see there's some very confusing output data here. The console data says, oh, we input ls, okay. Then this happens. Then the output of the ls happens. Then this is being generated, but you can see it's basically the output of the console. Okay, so now we have a working terminal on the server. This is a step, but what we now want to do, we want to interact with it on the client. We want to have browser access to it. Well, the straightforward JavaScript way would be to require the HTTP module and to maybe utilize something like Express, and then get, of course, something like socket.io to have direct communication with the client, and then to hook up events to some events on the hook up some events on the server to some events on the client, and vice versa. There's a much easier way. And it's called Promised Land Web Framework. Yoo-hoo, someone is downloading it. It's a very simple, straightforward way to have a web server, have modules available on the client, and have them talk to each other. And I'm going to show you how. Let's simply copy this. And put it in our index, And this is why I created the index, and the index requires the terminal, because this is basically our server configuration here. And the terminal module we are going to use on the server side and on the client side, and they're going to talk to each other. Okay, be required, straightforward. We create a terminal. We are not going to use load. I haven't fully documented this yet. I hope when you watching this video, the documentation will be complete. Load on connect terminal. It says when you have the connection to the server, we're going to load this module. Then we have to have some directories available. Of course, the terminal directory on the client is going to be mapped to the terminal directory here. Then we are going to load a CSS. Just gonna call it style CSS, and we're gonna listen on 4010 because I like it. Okay, this style CSS is missing. We have to create it. Here, new file, style.less, showing off. It's less is automatically compiled to CSS. Less gives you some more advantages. Not that I would use it, but not that I would need it in this project, but I'm just used to having less available. Okay, so now this module is being loaded on the client as well, which will not work. And well, I will show you how. I will show you that it really won't work. No, nothing is working. Huh? What did I do wrong? I didn't install it, of course. And I have no error capturing yet. npm install Promised Web Framework. And the second mistake that I made, it was not having try catch around it. Not here. There. And the second mistake that I made was not having a try catch. So we're gonna add this here, catch the error, and in case there's an error, log it. There. It's still doing this on the server, and now we have here our localhost 4010. There's something loading. What does it do? But nothing's happening. And you see, the client is trying to load the pty.js module, but of course there is no pty.js available. We haven't mapped it, and it would not make any sense to include it on the client, because it's a server module. Promised Land gives you the possibility to have server and client talk to each other in a very seamless manner. I encourage you to check out the documentation. Go to promisedland.net, features, and you'll see overview over the features. And the feature that I'm using here is called frames. And it shows you can use server code, client code, wherever code. Actually, it's not specific to server and client. It just enables you to make a very transparent well, not transparent, a very programmer-friendly way to have different runtime environments of JavaScript talk to each other. And in our case, we are using the Promise and Web Framework. There's going to be a frame that's called Server, that's the Node.js. The Node.js process, the runtime environment on the server. And the other one is called Client. And by saying I have a function and it runs exclusively on the server, or it runs on the frame server, we can make jumps within our program, like no jump to the server, execute this code on the server, go back to the client, continue the program, and I will show you how this works. Okay, so the first thing that we are gonna do is we're gonna put this in a server function. Another feature is that you can leave the function keyword. This is the most annoying keyword in JavaScript, the function keyword. If you are using promises, you are using it over and over again, and I got so sick of it. So when I programmed Promiseland, I made it optional. So this would be, of course, function. Maybe this is less confusing now to you. But actually, I'm just leaving this here because this makes this makes the execution of this function even neater. We just say, hey, this function is exclusive for the server, and execute it. And we're gonna have a second block that's exclusive to our client. And what we're going to do here is just console and say hi. Okay, this makes more sense now. We restart our server. It's not working anymore. Why not? Meh. Wrong file. Sorry for that. Of course not this one. The terminal. Yep. You see, programming is just a continuous trial and error process, as you would expect from any engineering process. Still our crazy server code here, and our client says hi. Well, that's a step in the right direction. Now we have a client and we have a server. Now we have to make them talk to each other. Okay, so how are we gonna do this? First step, our terminal is going to be a class, and we call it the terminal, and it's going to be a synced class, and we're going to sync all the member functions. Class type means it's a type safe class, and we are going to need the type safe classes to have synchronization available. And I could go into details with this now, but just come along and see what's possible with this. If you are familiar with object-oriented programming, this will not be complete nonsense to you. It's all pretty much straightforward. Then we are going to have a local variable of this type. And we have to have some way to transfer this variable, to initialize the variable, and to transfer it to the client. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna stop this crazy code from executing, and furthermore I'm gonna make the pty variable on the model scope. So the server is initializing the variable, on the client it will just be undefined. And also the server is initializing the local variable. We can give this class a constructor. And in the constructor we say just I am being created. So now let's transfer this this class to the client. How are we gonna do this? We have another function. This function needs a name. Get term. It's returning a promise of the terminal. It's being executed on the frame server. And to make this a little bit more convenient, straightforward, init. So if it's not initialized yet, yeah, actually this would work as well. I've always programmed it like this, so let's stick to what works. Not that we have some surprise then. We initialize it and we say init is true, and we return, of course, the local variable. Cool. Now we can get the local variable from the server, and on the client we say local is the reference get term. This is a asynchronous call. It's returning a promise. This is accessing the result of the promise, which means at this point the code, the execution will wait until the function on the server has run, the result is there, and then it will continue. And hopefully we see this now on the client. Again, restart the server, restart the client. It's not exactly what I hoped for. I did some mistake again. Class type sync all determinal constructor, of course, constructor. There it is. Yep. I am being created. I am being created. And now you have to imagine this class that's created here is actually the same instance of one class. It's not two different instances. The way it's being looked at in Promised Land, it's the same instance. It's just that it's on the server and on the client at the same time. And it's very neat because we can use it to talk from the server to the client and vice versa. And you will see how this will come in handy. And of course you see the constructor is being called every time. So when it's transferred to the client, the constructor is being called again. But actually all the members will be the same. And whenever we are creating a member function, the member function will execute on every frame that it's present. And actually it's not completely true. Not all the members will be synced, only the members that I am defining here. If I would define a function like this. I give this function class information, even if it's just var. That means it returns type var. It's a regular JavaScript function, but it tells the class create logic that this is actually a function and not just a regular member. I'm being created. Well, if pty is present, and now it gets interesting. We copy this code. We say this pty is pty span, blah blah blah. It's basically what we did before. And this as well. This pty on data. We don't need this anymore. And now we need to have a self-reference. So I say the terminal self is this. And I can say self.data, which is now propagating the data on all the frames. Wherever there is on every frame that this instance is present, this data function will be executed, which we will just produce we'll just output the data. And yeah, let's keep this demo code. Okay, so if we are constructing our class, our instance on the server, there's a pty, and this pty will be initialized. This pty will not be synced because it's not part of the initial class definition. It's just a member, as every other member as well. You can just assign members like to any other JavaScript class, and there will be no special promised land feature about it. It will just be a straightforward member. Okay, we are returning it here and we are putting it to the client. Let's see what happens. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, and actually there is happening something. You can see here. There's some data happening here. Of course, there's lots of debug output. I haven't cleaned up completely the debug output from Promised Land, and I should introduce some debug level. So I'm sorry for this. But you can see, basically our output from the console is reaching our client, which is a step in the right direction. But we don't want to have the console in the debug console here. We want to have it here, right in the document. So how do we do this? There's another library. Go to GitHub and search for term.js, and the first thing that will pop up is this how do you pronounce it? I don't know. Term.js. Fully X-time clone written in JavaScript. Yay! That's exactly what we need. Yep. We can install this by git clone, pasting the name of the repository, And we have our terminal library. Now to get it on the client, we have a second directory now. Which we will call term. So we are mapping the local directory term.js to term. And there's one problem. Term.js. What we need is this source term.js, and this has no IMD loader. It's just a plain JavaScript file. But no problem. Promised Land web framework uses require.js, and require.js enables you to do this. Shim. I hope I remember the syntax. What we are going to shim is term/src/term. That's the name of the file, isn't it? Term.js, yeah. There we are. And we are shimming it, and we say this exports terminal. And now we can simply require this on the client. And we're going to do this exactly the same way as we did with the pty variable. We say terminal is require and terminal, and when we are constructing this, we say if there is the local variable terminal present, then we say this dot term. Lots of terms here in my demo project. New terminal. Now this needs some initialization parameters. Let's have a look. There is, I always forget, example. It's using socket.io here. This is not the file. Index.js. This is the server file for the example. Nope. Damn it, where is it? There is a test. Index.js, nope. Here. There it says term and all this stuff. Copy it and reuse what we need. It says term is new terminal. Basically we are doing this. We don't need any window on load stuff. I say this term open on document body. Then there's terminal write, of course. Blah blah blah. I know this by heart. It's like this term on, exactly like the pty.js data self dot. Let's call it input data. So now when the terminal on the client has some input data, like what you type on the keyboard, or actually what you're inputting with the mouse, it's gonna call the other member function called input. We're defining it here. And actually, we're not just making console log now. We say if this term, which means I have this web terminal variable, we use it, this term write data, and vice versa when we have pty, then this pty write data. Let's see if this works. We are starting the server. We are starting the client. Ta-da! Ready is our web terminal. That was easy.